The Australian Security Academy acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises the continuing connection to lands, waters, and communities. We pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and to elders past and present. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples should be aware that this series of live streams contains images or names of people who have passed away.
Good afternoon, investigators. Mike Evans and Casey Pine here with episode 336 of Spy Curious, Australia's community of practice investigation weekly news for government investigators, private investigators, loss adjusters, security risk managers, mercantile agents, and fraud controllers. G'day, Nanan. How are you, mate? How are you, Casey?
I am very well, thanks, Mike. How are you?
Very well. You had a busy week?
Always. The day that I say no will be hell would have frozen over, or I'm in heaven or something.
G'day, Emily. G'day, Nenad. Thank you for saying hello, people. Thanks for letting us know you're watching. Each week we try and bring you some contemporary news about what's happening in the investigation industry around Australia, or we may even ask a question or two, or tell you about hey Long, great to see you, mate. I hope you're well. Thanks for saying hello. We may even have a tip or two, as well as a job vacancy. And this week, people, I am absolutely full of it because we've had big news this week. On Monday, 5th of August, Pat Flynn, Australian Security Academy National Training Manager, was married at sea by the ship's captain. On the 5th of this month. That's great news. Pat's wedding was rushed forward because as the ship was sailing along, they had to try and avoid a storm. And because they had to speed up to avoid the storm, g'day, Judith, great to see you. Because they had to speed up to avoid the storm, the captain had to marry Pat and his wife, Cheryl, earlier than expected. So it came forward by an hour because of the storm, because they would have gone over the line of the area where the jurisdiction allowed the marriage to proceed. Yeah, congratulations, Pat and Cheryl. It's really great news that they were married, very special ceremony, and Pat assures me that they were both treated like royalty on the ship. Everybody had great fun. Yeah, congratulations. Thanks, everybody. He's a great guy. It's lovely to see, and we haven't got any photos yet. G'day, Shane. How you going, mate? Thanks for saying g'day. So that's our news on that front for this week. And the big news down in Melbourne. Congratulations to the Andersons, because Aiken arrived earlier this week, and there he is, just been born, and proud dad, owner of Seeker Investigation Group, and his wife have welcomed a little baby boy this week. So that's really great news. Now, if you think mum and dad are over the moon, the grandparents, oh boy, they're very excited. So this is amazing, great news down in Melbourne. Congratulations to everybody down there in relation to that. And special congratulations to my very good friend, Pat Flynn. And it's been really great start to our week with what's been going on. Over on Investigations Uni today, we looked at basically asthma claims for workers' compensation. So if you don't know what Investigations Uni is, it's the support program that's exclusive to our students. It's a CPD program for our students who are members of the Academy of Investigation, Risk and Loss Adjusting Professionals. And each week we have a presentation on investigations. So you can get CPD points. You can go into your Moodle system. You have to request it and I'll put you in there and you'll be able to watch a video, do some CPD, meaningful CPD, which is rewarded with a certificate just like this instantly once you pass the CPD and watch the video. And I think we've got over 60 subjects in there now as of this week for you to go in there and do that CPD. So that's quite interesting. The presentation Investigations Uni is about workers' compensation. I sound like a broken record in it, but workers' compensation investigation comes down to these things: training, supervision, system of work, personal protective equipment, warnings, and is the person a worker? What you just saw there has earned the Australian Security Academy over the past 25 years almost $26 million. So that's a very serious little slide because that's what we teach. And this week we're approached by a national organisation that does that in relation to training their staff in it around Australia. So seriously, people, as simple as it sounds, everything you do in workers' compensation investigations that you need to find out about is in those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little points on that list. Yeah, there's a million details in between it all, but that's the interesting thing about it. Now, speaking of workers' compensation, my question of the week, and this is a question I got asked this week. Dear Mike, I hope you're well. I'm keen for your thoughts on the proposed workers' compensation reforms I've been hearing about. Things have been going well in terms of my job as a factual investigator, but these changes are causing some anxiety about whether the pipeline of work will be negatively impacted. I'm only new to this field, so I'm not really sure how to interpret things. Thanks for your insights. That investigator is located in New South Wales. All right. Is the workers' compensation investigation system in New South Wales $7 billion annual workers' compensation scheme about to collapse? And no investigator is going to have any work. No, it's not. 38 years ago, when it was a $500 million scheme and broke, it didn't collapse then. All right. In the 38 years that I've been watching it, they've changed it about 15 times. And each time they change it, it was going to be the end of the world. And we are all still here. And we are all still looking at that in workers' compensation. So our question of the week is, there's changes. If it exists, it's changing. It doesn't matter what it is. I had a pest controller in yesterday. He's the same pest controller come round to our house every year for the last 18 years and using natural oils, essential oils. He's controlled our ants and our issues with cockroaches in Queensland, that sort of thing. He's had some massive changes to his business this year, and my pool cleaner came in a couple of weeks ago and she said she's had some massive changes to her industry as well. All industries, they exist. All industries, they change. That's something you're going to have to live with and get used to. So deep diving down, what are we talking about in relation to what's going on with workers' compensation? What are some of the issues? Well, down in Victoria, they're talking about worker safety reforms target psychological hazards in the workplace. And this week in the Insurance News, this is the headline from it, you're seeing there, they've come out and they said, well, we're going to crack down on all workplaces in Victoria and make them, more aware of psychological hazards and stop all the bullying and sexual harassment and all that sort of thing that leads to workers' compensation, psychological injury or psychiatric injury or depression or a stress claim. That's what they're going to do. So they're going to make it more on the workplace's part. So to enforce that, they're going to have more workers doing regulatory compliance enforcement of WorkSafe because they haven't got enough now to do what they're doing with safety without enforcing anything over and above everything else in that $6 billion industry in Victoria. Now you're hearing going, well, We earn $6 billion a year and we're going broke. Tough. Really, really tough. And state governments, they funnel money out of, workers' compensation into other things like health, or they do all sorts of amazing pivoting chess moves with their funding. And, they put out these headlines and they address these things. But I can assure you, investigators, yes, they're part of the economic food chain in workers' compensation or CTP liability or anything else. So are the barristers and so are the lawyers. And anything that is going to negatively impact barristers and lawyers, it ain't going to happen. So do not be concerned about what you're hearing being the end of the world. What they're saying what they're saying I've got to make bigger headings in workers' compensation in New South Wales is they're going to raise up the impairment threshold from the current 11%. All right, so that means you're going to get a common law claim, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars for your injury because you can never work again because your impairment is 11%. It may be 14%. 11, 14, who cares? It's 3%. Don't get too worried. Don't ring me up and email me. Okay, I'm just saying they're going to raise it to 31%. This is what our question person has heard in New South Wales, that it's going to up it to 31%. So New South Wales, the current threshold for a whole person impairment, 11% for physical injuries, 15% psychological injuries. They're doubling it. And our investigator who's asked the intelligent, sophisticated question said, should I be concerned about this? No. Just because they double it, right, doesn't mean it's going to stop. Your role in workers' compensation investigations is you are a defence investigator. You are sent out as an independent investigator into the workplace to interview the insured owner, the insured's workplace health and safety officer, the witnesses at the insured's workplace, and take statements from them in relation to whatever that claim was. Now, that claim may not even be 11%. It might only be 2%. It's just a statutory claim. They've been injured at the workplace. They can't go back to work because they can't use their left hand. Now, in 9 weeks' time, they're going back to work. That's fine. But if someone's lost their left hand and it can't be sewn back on, that's different. They might be a hairdresser who's got to hold a comb in one hand and a pair of scissors in the other. That's completely different. So that'll go to common law, and then they're going to look at what's their impairment. Is their impairment meeting that threshold? Now, there's some amazing lists of impairments if you ever have spare time, right? And you're not watching replays of Investigations Uni, which you should be watching, but you can get on the internet, you can find out how much do I get if I lose an eye. Maximum that you can be paid for that's $160,000. That's the maximum.
Wow.
And it's going to be more like 40% of that. It's really depressing reading. So probably don't take my advice and go looking for this sort of thing, because if you think you're protected financially, you get bugger all. So the system isn't set up to have a magic wand doubling of the impairment to eliminate investigations. Every claim that's going to go on continuously, and psychological, psychiatric, depression claims are going to continue. They're not going to stop. When I first started in workers' compensation a long time ago in investigations, everybody had carpal tunnel. That was the number one injury. Today it's called occupational overuse injury. They even changed the name. Then 5-6 years later, they got into, now we've got depression and bullying, harassment and psychological and psychiatric injury, and lawyers, push for it, and people do get bullied at work and have genuine claims. They do. And people suicide over what happens at work. It's not good. So that's why investigators in Victoria have suicide awareness training. But you can get on Google, and you can find out what the average payouts for certain things are in, certain industries. Motor vehicle accident average payouts in New South Wales are 125,000 per claim. That's average. It's not what you're going to get if you have a nose to tail. Average workers' compensation payout in New South Wales, $53,758. It could go up to $115,332. And he's one of those impairment things I was talking about with the eyes. So if you get a minor eye injury, $2,000 to $3,000 moderate, you can, $9,000 to $40,000 eye loss, $54,000 to $180,000. And keep in mind, don't bank on that, people. It's going to be something like 40% of that they're going to pay you. So investigations are still going to continue. Just because they change the legislation doesn't mean there's going to be, everybody knows exactly what happened in every single case. Each one turns on its facts, but they're all different. Going to work like that. If for some reason, and I can't see it happening in the next 20 years, they find a solution to psychiatric and psychological injury in the workplace, such as they've done for physical injuries over the last 30 years, where they've used machines to do the lifting instead of people doing the lifting, where they've had training in lifting instead of, just lift that stuff like we used to do back in the 60s, right? All that's
AI managers.
That's right. All that's managed now. And the physical injuries have reduced. Doesn't mean they've been stopped. We still report here monthly on fatal accidents in the workplace each month. So they're still going to happen, and you're still going to be investigating them. I worked for a firm of loss adjusters many years ago. They decided that they were going to do telephone interviews before mobile phones, right? And they were going to save insurance companies thousands of millions, and they were going to, take over the whole industry doing that. The whole thing collapsed. And you might think, well, yeah, but AI is getting so good, and those AI robots, they're really, really realistic, and they have, hand gestures and facial expressions now. And one of them might interview me about my car accident one day. No, they won't. Why won't they? There's only 2 words you need to know that will never happen. Robo-debt.
There's a documentary out about it now, I hear.
Yeah. And robo-debt caused lots of people who were innocent, that didn't owe Centrelink any money, to suicide. Now, that's a big explain to a couple of distressed parents when a young person is so terrified of debt collectors sued onto them by a government department that they suicided. Now, you imagine the boardroom of an insurance company that says, okay, right, we're going to have all AI interviews now, right? There's going to be no empathy. There's going to be no human involvement, right? And we're just going to deny every claim based on the fact that this person that said they don't drink on their social media had a bottle of whiskey in the background in a bottle shop. They were walking past the window. Not going to happen, right? So they can do that. The insurance company can say, yes, we're going to introduce complete AI investigations, and we're going to make our insurance premiums for your CTP liability or your car insurance now $2,500 a year instead of $2,550, and it's going to be good for you. And all us consumers will go, I'm not having an interview with a robot. If I have a car accident, get stuffed, I'll go to another insurance company that doesn't do that.
Yeah.
That's what people will do. You can't do that in workers' compensation. I hear what you're saying, but you've got the barristers and the lawyers, the physiotherapists and the doctors and all those other people in the economic food chain who are in there with you. They're not going to let it happen. It won't stop just by doubling the threshold to a higher threshold. So keep that in mind. It always changes. You go with the change. As you go through your life, everything's your motor vehicles, your television set, right? Your ability to communicate on the internet, how you exercise, your diet, everything, it's changing constantly. If it exists, it changes. Oh, I can take you to a place. I can absolutely 100% take you to a place where nothing changes. It's the same all the time. Everybody there, it's just totally the same. And it's a great place to be if you're dead, and it's a cemetery and nothing changes. That's the only place. They might have a couple of, bad weather days, stuff like that. But for the residents of it, it's the same every day. And they don't care. So if it exists, it's changing, and it doesn't matter what it is. Okay, it can be a ship on the ocean, right? It can be a captain of a ship on the ocean that has to marry a couple from Toowoomba very happily this week. All right. People have babies and life dramatically changes. They're going to lessen the marijuana laws in, Queensland or New South Wales, and the world's going to end. Well, they lessened them in Canberra and South Australia, and the world didn't end. So don't be concerned when you see about changes. That's very, very important. You're watching episode 336 of Spy Curious. So I want you to be comfortable with the fact that it changes. One of the really interesting ones that I see that stayed, and I didn't know that it would, for general insurance investigations, there are still insurance companies out there that pay a flat rate per investigation for general insurance investigations. No matter what investigation you do, whether it's really complex or it's a couple of quick phone calls, you get paid the same amount. And they argue that on the merry-go-rounds and swings, you'll come out even.
Yeah.
Okay. So, look, that's a system that some have. Fair enough. If you want to do it, you can. If you don't want to do it, you can go and work for 7 other general insurance clients. Don't do that. and so you have choices with your skills. You're a trained, professional, licensed investigator with clients. That's really important. You have clients. You have access to massive information to help you have CPD and improve your career and your opportunities by being an Australian Security Academy student and participating in our support program and getting CPD. Okay, so if something does change, you're in front of it because you invested in yourself and did your study, you got your license, you followed through confidently, you created what you've got now. You'll only make it better. And I just see it time and time and time again because we deal with people who can't get government funding or who just want to get ahead. That's our world that Casey and I and Pat and Andrew and others interact with every day. The people that aren't interested in after they enroll, they don't come to us. They go elsewhere, right? We've got the ones that really want to progress with it, take advantage of it, and grow with it. If you're looking for a job, this is our Facebook page where we curate the jobs for private investigators. There is something like 7 years historical advertisements for investigations positions. There's government positions, there's diploma of government, there's advanced diploma of government, there's private investigator certificate 3, there's no investigation qualifications required because you're only working in one workplace internally, that sort of thing. So you can go there and you can check those out. The reason I do it and that you have it there is so you can see what your opportunities may be and also research what they're looking for. And then when you're applying for that, you can match your application to it. So keep all that in mind. I'm just about out of breath. I better give Casey a turn and shut up.
About time. Sorry for taking my jacket off. I'm in a very hot office today. I'm in the headquarters today, and the heat has all of a sudden it's just jumped up in Queensland. We've gone from quite nice, cool weather to really warm weather. So, well, it's very nice. I'm unprepared, and I came in a suit. So today I have Basically, it's a reflection on what I spoke about last week and my investigations uni that I've done recently. And it's about OSINT and how it is progressing, not only as a skill set, but as an intelligence modality. So if you were part of Investigations Uni a couple of weeks ago, you heard me talk about the OSINT Symposium, and I gave an overview. And then I wrote an article about it and put it on LinkedIn. So if you are not a part of Investigations Uni and don't have access to my talk or want a quick overview of it, I have posted an article on LinkedIn which talks about everything that I learned from the OSINT Symposium. And Forensic OSINT, so OSINT Ritu, was really kind enough to share my article in her OSINT newsletter. If you have not signed up to Forensic OSINT's newsletter, I highly recommend you do it. She curates all of the kind of news and new tools coming out in OSINT, and it's sent out to you every Friday. And the newsletter is free. So Ritu is fantastic. She's a lovely lady. I met her in Sydney. She's Canadian. She is teeny tiny and makes me look even more giant than I already am. So it was very funny standing next to her. But it was really kind of her to share my article. And in it, she says, in my own presentation, I stress that OSINT professionals are different from hobbyists, because as we know, we see people, internet sleuths and things like that. We see it all the time. And people say, well, what's the difference between you and an internet sleuth? It's like, well, A, I am a licensed professional, and B, this is my world. This is my life. It's like someone saying that they can put a Band-Aid on a scratch and calling themselves a doctor. I mean, it's not that extreme. Not putting down internet sleuths. Some people have a lot of time and are really dedicated to OSINT. So it's just important to realize that it is becoming a really professional modality. And what I really would like to drive home this week is that if you are using OSINT, you need to be having discussions in your workplace about it. Thank you. I'm always smiling. You need to be having discussions in your workplace about it. Your policies and procedures need to be up to date. And as I always say, that even if you are an individual operator, you do need basic policies and procedures that you can point to. So if you end up in a court of law and they say to you, well, where did you find this? Where did you find this information? It's like, well, I do open source intelligence. These are my guidelines that I have for my business. This is the way I do it. This is the way I always do it. This is my governance. And you can back yourself. So it's all about being able to back yourself. It's all about being able to show the way that you work. It's being able to show that you have obtained it legally, and talking about the continual, the chain of evidence. So it's really important that you maintain that. And it's also, you're a professional. So you have to show that you, as a professional, you are acting in a professional capacity and that you're doing exactly what you say that you do. So really have a think about what you do in terms of that. And also, in the article that I wrote, it has the ADAPT model for looking at your OSINT tools and being able to document what OSINT tools that you use and what OSINT tools you have vetted and are in your rotation. So you as a business need to be vetting your OSINT tools, because you don't know where they're from. They could be from a nefarious source, and you could be uploading sensitive data to this nefarious source, or asking it questions, or putting in emails or phone numbers into a source that you should not be doing that. So make sure you vet your tools, because new OSINT tools pop up all the time. And if you just go, oh, a new OSINT tool, I'm just going to type a phone number in there to see if I can get a hit, you don't know who you're giving that phone number to. So all of the tools that I suggest when I do my workshops, when I do my teaching, they have been vetted, not just by me, but I also look to other people in the industry who recommend these tools as well. And I prefer tools where I've met the person, if I can, or have spoken to the team. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Also, I found this super interesting that Social Links put up this really great article recently And it said, for anyone within the intelligence, security, and investigations communities, open source intelligence has become a foundational term. Yet to define OSINT merely as intelligence derived from publicly available information is like describing a modern battleship as simply a boat. While technically true, this definition fails to capture the discipline's complexity, technological sophistication, huge importance as a pillar of national security, law enforcement, and corporate strategy. OSINT is not a passive active collection. It is a structured, multi-layered methodology for turning the overwhelming noise of global data into verifiable and actionable intelligence. And I just love that. That's one of my favorite things that I've read in a long time. It is a very specialized skill set. We are having to invest money in tools these days. It's really important to know how to do things manually and to understand how to do OSINT that way. But tools are just becoming more and more on the to the forefront. And I interviewed, I asked Jake Krebs a couple of years ago about what he thinks about OSINT and where it's going. And he said it's going to get more and more technical and we're going to be relying more and more on tools. And he was absolutely right. So it's just one of those things that we need to be looking at our tech stacks, having them vetted, having them as part of our policy and procedures in our governance, what we can use, and not just flippantly giving things, sensitive information to people. And that also brings me to, I'm sure I feel like no one can miss at the moment, there's 2 AI kerfuffles at the moment. So there was a contractor that uploaded names and address, allegedly, a whole bunch of information on New South Wales residents that were affected by the floods. And they put that into ChatGPT. And also Deloitte have come forward and refunded $440,000, I think it was, to the government because of they uploaded information to AI. And everybody's screaming at the moment because it's like, oh, AI, it's a data breach. It's not necessarily a breach. And I don't like that term, because breach, if you're talking about residents who have been affected of the flood in New South Wales and they see a headline that their information has been in a data breach, it sounds really nefarious and could have huge consequences if it was in like a hack or something like that. But someone uploaded it to ChatGPT. They don't know if they actually did. They don't know if they used a paid ChatGPT service, which means that it wouldn't have been used to teach ChatGPT. So it might not have actually gone into their system. There's a lot of knee-jerk reactions. And again, this is from the OSINT Symposium where we were talking about AI and how it requires governance, it requires policies and procedures, it requires you to know how to use it. And it requires you to be a professional and say, okay, this is how we're going to use it. We're going to use it in helping us write emails, or we're going to use it in helping it look at, we're going to use it as an analyst, and we're going to ask it to look at this information and we're going to feed this in there. It's going to be a paid version so that we know the information that we're using is not being used to teach the LLM, and all of that's there. So you can point to it and go, we understand what we're doing. These are our policies and procedures. This is where we cross the line. Like, we don't use free tools. This is the specific AI we're using. And it also requires strict human oversight, which is what a lot of these things are missing, because people will put in a whole bunch of information and then an AI will spit out a lot of information and it's not verified by a human. They'll just chuck it into a report and send it off, which is crazy. And like, it's amazing. It can really save you a lot of time. I'm sure what ChatGPT has done is really good, but it requires human oversight. You need to look through it and go, yep, that's correct. Yes, that's correct. No, that needs to go. And it just really helps us make sense of large amounts of data, which is a really valuable thing. And we will see this evolve in time. But again, I will do an investigations uni on how to use ChatGPT or any AIs responsibly and how to update your policies and procedures and governance around that. So that will be in the future when I get a moment to fully put that workshop together for you. But I just thought that was really interesting. And yeah, OSINT's really, really coming of age. People are standing up and paying attention. If you've been to any of my workshops, you know that I open with the National Intelligence Review that was released by the Albanese government this year, at the beginning of the year. And in that review, they even looked at having an open source intelligence agency, a standalone one within Australia, because that is how powerful OSINT is. So it's not going away. Fraud is not going away. So investigators do not need to panic about anything. AI is not going to take our jobs. AI very much needs human oversight. We are still very much the overlords there. So it's one of those things where you need to learn, you need to use it responsibly. And if you're not going to learn about it, don't use it. So until you have someone in your camp or in your office that can help you develop guardrails and things like that. Otherwise, you're just going to get in trouble. And that is my rant.
Very good. Thanks very much, Casey. So got a big fan there. So, thanks, Greg. Good on you, mate. Thanks very much, Greg.
I never know if I should say his name or not. I don't know if I'm doxing it. Hi, Greg. Mike's already said it.
So got a question, and the question is, Unicop and Spy Curious is in New South Wales Victoria time. Yeah, it's going to be for daylight saving. For consistency, I'm going to do it in New South Wales Victorian time, so 1 p.m, 2 p.m. New South Wales Victorian time each Friday. I really think what we've got on at the moment, we're going to be struggling to do it next week. So check your email to see if it's going to go ahead or not. That will be probably the only one that we've had to skip in the last 6 years. but we've got so much on at the moment. It's just the workload's enormous, and we just don't have the time to basically probably do it next week, but we'll see what we can do. We're not sure yet. We'll try. Okay. Okay, so thanks very much, Casey. Thanks for watching, people. I really appreciate that you came along and watched it today. Hope you got something out of it, and we'll look forward to either seeing you next week or the week after. Watch your email, check that, and we'll tell you all about it then. We covered everything, Case?
Mm-hmm.
We sure do. We'll go out in the usual way.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's how every investigation agency in Australia ends their week, with mission complete. Gotta love the crew.